Today is extra special because I have the keys to a 1968 Sports Purpose 911R R-Group car. You're probably wondering, what's an R-Group car? Well, R-Group is a special club that's probably the most exclusive Porsche club around there is. It's about 300 members. They all own between 66 to 73 911 912s. They're modified, and they're modified to fit the Sports Purpose manual that Porsche had back in the late 60s, early 70s. This manual is made for people who bought 911s to compete. So it had all the parts for rallies, for endurance races, sprint races. It was basically a manual how to hot rod your Porsche. So these 300 members are enthusiasts, and they aim to modify their cars for that purpose. And luckily, one of those members let us use this car for a 1 mile review. What does this car have on it? Really, the question is, what doesn't have on it? It has, in the spirit of the 911R that it's modeled after, which was Porsche's super lightweight racer, it has a fiberglass fenders, fiberglass hood, fiberglass rear deck lid, and this is lightweight fiberglass, so it isn't the heavier fiberglass. It has plexiglass rear quarter windows. Anywhere he can save weight, they save weight. In the engine bay, instead of a 2-liter, which it came with in 1968, this has a hot-rodded 2.4 liter that's putting out about 175 horsepower. It runs on 40mm Webers, so it has that nice, beautiful carbureted sound. Furthermore, much like the 911R, it has the external oil filler, which meant that instead of putting the oil inside the engine like you usually do on a 911, this is out on the outside of the 911. You only found that on the 72 911s, but it has it on this one too. It has the outside fuel filler as well, just like the race cars did. It has Talbot mirrors. It has drilled door handles. It has pretty much everything you can imagine to save weight. It was made for driving.
Be sure to log into your YouTube account, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a video. Best of all, it's free to do so.
All right, this thing has a 10,000 RPM tach. I think it's gonna have 10,000 smiles. This thing feels very lightweight. A little bit that I drove it before this. Very loud inside. Not much sound insulation because it's lightweight. I believe the gears are shortened. So this is the shorter wheelbase 911. This is the one that 911's got their reputation, or bad reputation, that they were easy to spin, that they were tail happy. But in reality, what it did was it made it a better driving vehicle. With that short wheelbase, it was incredibly nimble. You just had to learn how to drive a 911. In a corner, when you felt the rear end go, you didn't lift, you hit the gas. Because that would send all the weight to the rear, and that's where the engine is, so that gives you much more better traction. For 175 horsepower, it's very responsive. It feels like it almost has power steering, and the steering is so light, and it's so effortless. It has some chunky tires on this. These aren't the stock skinny tires that these cars came with, and it pulls really well. If you watch this 1 mile series regularly, you knew I drove a very stock 911, the Bahama Mama, in California, and that was a beautiful example of what original 68 911 was. This is incredibly different. This is, if this is similar to what the 911R was, I can see why it was so dominant. This is definitely a backroads car. Hopefully you can see what I'm seeing, and that's the colors are changing here in Maryland, so the view is just spectacular with the leaves. I can tell you this car is not going to score very high for a road trip, because I don't think the passenger would appreciate a couple hours of this loud noise. I would. I love it. It makes me feel like I'm in a Targa Florio or some famous European rally. So this has the 901 transmission, and if you've never driven a 901, it may take a little bit of getting used to. I have it on my 914, so I'm pretty familiar with it. You know, you just take a millisecond to pause in between shifts, and you'll take care of the transmission, and it'll reward you. What's amazing, you look at this car, you wouldn't believe it, but the suspension is very compliant. It's a very comfortable ride while still being firm, and where you can feel everything on the road. It's very responsive. It's amazing. It's a TRE Motorsports who's built this car did an incredible job of setting it up, because a lot of cars, they're just too firm for the street. They're great on the racetrack, but on the street they're a nightmare. So far, this has been a blast on the street. The suspension talks to you enough that you can determine where the car is going to be going. Nothing scary about this short wheelbase at all. I can see why these cars dominated in rallies for so much. So you've seen the outside of this car. It's an eye catcher, and I can tell you that any car show or Cars and Coffee, it's going to be the star of the show. So I give it I'm going to give it a 9. This is one of my higher ratings, but this car has so many modifications that are done so tastefully in the 911R Sport Purpose theme. It's like when Porsche did these modifications, they did them for a reason, and so they're on this car for a reason, and they really, and not just the exterior, but the interior too. He even used a 356 tail light for the oil pressure warning light. I thought that was a nice touch to the 356s. We have daily driver. No, I can't see daily driving this, and I'm sure the R Group guys are probably going to give me a hard time that you can daily drive these cars, but in a climate where it's 4 seasons, no, you're not going to daily drive this, especially with the louvered windows, how loud it is. The gearing seems to be shorter. I am going to give it about a 5 for a daily driver. A road trip, this is a tough one. I can see doing like a Colorado Grand or the Targa California. This would be a fun car for it. If you're going somewhere over 4 days and you're going to be on the interstate a lot, this is not a good car. So let's split the difference and say this is a 6.5 road trip. It has all the storage of a 911, but obviously no air conditioning. I don't think it's made for a road trip. Fun factor. It's a 9. That's my highest score I've ever given. This car is so much fun. I would love to take this on the track. I would love to autocross it. It just screams to have that rear end pushed around a little bit under controlled circumstances. But this is why 911s were built. This is such an easy car. Once you understand how to handle the weight in the rear, it's such an easy car to drive and such a fun car, the sound and whatnot. Yeah, I'm going to be smiling for a while.